find himself getting passed by multiple cars, as I mentioned earlier on. So Nurburgring in a very precarious situation, but he often finds himself in these places. He doesn't qualify as well as he races.
Up front, they are getting with Lee Aberdeen and Luca Varani, not very far apart at all here. But I just want to see how Alistair Haig deals with Marcello Kessler coming around the old hairpin.
I would say it's not the best decision they've ever made, just not having done that under the safety car, really.
Yeah, they're taking their pit stop strategies from Ferrari lately or something. What's going on?
In turn one, just too much gas on them, too much feet on the loud pedal, and approach he's dropped him all the way down the order. But Philip Hammer is out in front by an 8.91 seconds. Dan Michael is a wall there, sir. And definitely doesn't want to be hitting that earlier on as well.
Difficult, the understeer is in the dirty air through that final corner because it's such a long corner and you get dragged off into the grass very easily. He'll have the slipstream down towards the chicane. Peterson was briefly alongside, but that slipstream has saved him and kept him in third.
Yeah, Varani now lost a little bit of time to Aberdeen, about half a second. Peterson is Pike's pushed Morton forward up ahead. He's got out of line. Is now Pike going to have a go at Werrell? Don't push him off. He's in the championship fight. Jack Werrell chasing down Carl Jacklin. Further down, Rob Williams and Chris Barnes.
Sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such trouble. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
On to the back end of Phil Jocelyn. So there's been a lot of movers and shakers in this first 2 laps here for race.
Absolutely serious racing league. Everybody's a lot have fun. Yeah, it's all about the entertainment. So I hope everybody is enjoying themselves out there in the chat. We know that Ron is been enjoying himself watching. The Burger King machine's off into the grass a little bit there. Is that really bunching up now?
Hello everybody and welcome to the Nordschleife as the Radical Race Series takes on motorsport's toughest test one more time. We've not been here for quite some time. It used to be a staple of the series, but Now, it is a lot more infrequent, like coming here every now and again, as opposed to having the finale here every single season, which is what used to happen. We're just back on the odd occasion. This time it's our penultimate round ahead of the finale at Road America, a track that has opened out our season in the past. Will now end it for the first time in the series' history. This is round 11. My name is Ewan Leary. I'm alongside James Parfitt again for the penultimate round of the championship, and we'll be here next week too, as we look to find out, James, whether James Barry will be the champion for the very first time.
He will do an absolute stellar job. He's just got to really finish the race in that top three, and I think if he does it, it's going to be great. He was so close last season. He's been battling away and got faster and faster and faster, and he's held his own as well, don't forget. But the thing is, he's held his own, but we haven't got that feature race here this evening. It's just a straight 7 laps, so we'll have to keep an eye out, see how he gets on here, and see how he does. It's going to be very, very exciting. Short grid, but let's see how they all do here, because Nords can do 2 things. It can make you have a great race, or it could just spit you out and chew you up. So let's see how they get on.
If James Barry doesn't win here, then he will we'll see, but he will likely go to the final race still needing something. But let's go through the championship standings first, just so we can tell you where everybody is. James Barry is indeed leading the standings. Now, we went away last week saying that the gap was 36 points. Well, one thing we didn't quite take into account was the fact that Simon Edwards didn't get a single incident point all night, so got an extra 6 points. That's the second time he's done that this season, by the way, and so he vaults ahead of John McCutcheon by quite some distance. We've got Mike Bousson in 4th place, all on his own. It looks like he's going to finish the season there. George Gonzaga with a great 5th at the moment, ahead of Luke Maxwell, who's starting to slip and slide down the order. He won't be here tonight either. It is Paul LeMay and then Paul Clark rounding out the top 8, with Graham Brown and Damien G rounding out the top 10. Just outside the top 10 is Seth Brown with Jamie Bird in 12th place, just over 200 points with Michael LeMay and Phil Glover as well, with Phil Jocelyn in 15th place. Then there's a big gap back to James Ritchie and everyone else behind, who are not often here, unfortunately, in the series. So that leaves the gap at 30 points. James Barry, at maximum in 1 week's time, can lose 23 points to Simon Edwards. So Simon Edwards needs to gain 7. Well, you'd think, but the countback rules make that complicated. So ideally, you want to make 8 points up. In that case, if Simon Edwards wins and James Barry comes second, as they have qualified right now, then they will be separated by 22 points going into the final race, and that would be fine as far as Edwards is concerned. He would still be in with a chance, although it would be a long shot. John McCutcheon needs to gain even more than that. I hope that James Barry really does lose out on a lot of points here today. But we'll wait and see on whether he can do that, because there are still enough available for McCutcheon, who we're told will join in qualifying. He's surely going to have a difficult job, though, coming from the back of the field.
Well, he hasn't got long. He's got about 40 seconds. So he better get a wriggle on if John's turning up today. We haven't got any Paul Clark. Paul is off, heading back to Bruce Springsteen in Sunderland and then off to Italy. He has informed us after our conversation last week, Mr. O'Leary, that apparently every Bruce Springsteen concert is different to the last. So there we go. I'm only going by what he's saying, all right? Don't shoot the messenger.
Yeah. Well, exactly. As I already said, John McCutcheon should be here in time for the race, although he hasn't qualified. Don't think Jamie Bird will be here tonight, who wished everyone luck. Hoping to see Paul Crabb maybe tonight as well, but he says that life is a bit busy at the moment, so he'd like to be here because he really enjoys the Nordschleife, but may not be. As you say, Paul Clark is away watching the same concert again and again. Sorry, but anyway, let's see who else is around. Phil Glover's back again here today, and hopefully less smashed. I mean, he's certainly not, because he's in third. A good qualifying performance from him, actually, in this session for the moment. Only 6 times on the board, but we do have a few more ready to line up for the race. Yeah, we do. We've got 8 lining up for the race as well. John if he don't make it by the time they grid, he ain't going to make this. Just like to point out, he can't get into the session after quali. So if he isn't making it, he ain't doing it at all.
So there you go. No, Paul Crabb. I know Robert Woodward hopefully can get online tonight, so I guess he's having problems. He's not here either. Obviously, we've got no Paul LeMays in YouTube chat. I wonder, where are you, Paul? What's going on? So, yeah, no Paul LeMay either. But obviously with Nords itself, anything that we do here with the qualifying results and the race results take absolutely ages. So we are just waiting here before we move on. There we go. We're into the grid now.
There it is. Simon Edwards and James Barry, the championship protagonists on the front, Adam Phil Glover, Seth Brown, David Beasley and Phil Jostin, who set times. Mike Booston and Robert Woodward are the ones who've made it without setting a lap. So no McCutcheon clearly, but seems that Robert Woodward has made it after whatever issues he's been having in the last few days.
Yeah, I don't really know. I know there was a couple of people, there was storms that was causing problems across the UK. So I'm not quite sure if they were part and parcel of that scenario. Obviously, I don't have an insight into where everybody lives in the Radical Race Series, but I'm guessing that might have been some of their having problems with the storms. I know people's internet has been up and down for whatever reason. I know mine's been sketchy as that. However, hopefully, Ewan, in 2 weeks' time, my brand new sparkling spangling fibre optics should go on. But the race is starting.
More important things at hand. The lights come on here at the Nordschleife, and we are indeed underway after a bit of a hold. It's a very short run down towards turn 1, and Simon Edwards wins the race. It's James Barry who gets right in behind him though. Oh, and Glover already with a bit of a slide through the Sabine-Snitz curve, unfortunately, and goes straight back down to 7th place after a great qualifying session a few moments ago.
Oh, not the greatest start for Phil Glover there as well. We can have a look back at that one in a short minute. Let's wait for these guys just to get through this very twisty section of this race circuit, and then we'll go out onto that long run, of course, up in through Flugplatz before they reach the right-hander at the bottom, which will be the Arenberg corner. And we'll see how I play this one up, because the draft is strong. I drove Radicals this week at Nords, and the draft is incredibly strong. So Barry's got to be mindful. If he's going to make a move, he's got to make it in that draft area, because he will pull in quick to Simon Edwards here, and it has been playing a massive part in officials this week.
He did have a great run through Flugplatz there, and so by the time they get to Schwedenkreuz, he's not quite close enough, I'm afraid. And then down the bricks at Arenberg is where he would have liked to make the move here, but he's not been able to do that. They'll go through the right-hander and then down the hill further. This is the group second on back. Robert Woodward's made a great start here, hasn't he? Up to 4th place already behind Seth Brown. Mike Booston also doing a good job here as they go down the foxhole and in towards Adenauer Forest at the top of the hill here. There's not a lot of space to look down the inside or outside, and so he backs off in 6th place.
Yeah, I think that was probably sensible, to be fair, from Mike. I wouldn't want to be trying to send it up through there. The problem is you've got two options now. You either make a move somewhere where you don't normally make a move, or you wait until you come out of Bergwick for a little bit of a run up into the carousel. So it's now that option. I think a lot of people would take the safe option, where they're just going to sit behind the guys for this run through this next section. Is very difficult. As I say, been driving it this week, and it's very, very tough to make any overtakes. I will say, in my blowing my own trumpet, I went from last in 24th and finished 2nd. But then again, there was a lot of people who crashed out, which is not a surprise.
Well, you've got to be on the track to catch them and pass them. So
and I only got one incident point I'd like to point out as well. So thank you. Oh. I know.
Yeah. Well, the reason that puzzles me is because the fact that it's a multiple of 1 and not multiple of 4, if you see what I mean.
I went off track.
I don't see how you can get off. Yeah, no, I don't see where you get an off track round here, really, if you don't end up in the wall.
Would you like me to tell you where I got one?
No, I'm just saying I don't see any place on this circuit where anyone will get one off track.
Okay, well, let me show you as we're coming round now. We're going to go around the right-hander, and unfortunately I went in very deep into this part, and I ended up on that curb on the left-hand side and run up that grass, which was counted as an off-track.
And you didn't get the wall, you just got in the grass?
I just got in the grass, I didn't hit the wall. No, I was quite happy. So that's
my point, really. It's like there's so little grass before the wall. It's just like that, how on earth are you supposed to hit the grass and not the wall?
Well, that's it. That was how. You can get one up through here as well, through this next left-hander. If you get this horribly wrong and you run wide, there is a little bit more of a runoff. See it on the right-hand side there, just before you can start then hitting that wall. But you have to be very lucky to not scrape the wall, and I got away with it. I just had a 1x, so I was quite happy.
Yeah, that's all well and good. Meanwhile, for these two, it's been a good start. Simon Edwards and James Barry. I don't think either of them are going to be particularly displeased with this. It's just a good place for both of them to be. By the way, because we are going to have to work this out this week and next week, is there a way for us to know how many incident points that these two are getting or if they're getting any incident points in the race?
Well, there is. The screen does show off tracks, and I can show it. The problem is if they have contact, it doesn't register contact with each other, but it will register what it feels is the off track count. So at the moment, the only people that have got them are Glover and Beasley. They've got 1x each, so it will register the off tracks. It just won't register the contact. So if they've had contact, I won't know, unfortunately.
Okay, but we will know, so we'll just make a mental note of that. If they hit each other, then neither of them are getting the points.
No,
the point there.
That's it basically. At the moment, both of them are on, as far as I'm aware, both are on 0. David Beasley's off on 2. Let's have a look back and see what happened to Phil Glover at the beginning. We have got a little bit of time here. Phil just gets it a little bit loose and does like a half spin, so that's one off track for Phil Glover. David Beasley has had 2. This would be one of them that he's had here. As he's going around the left-hander, he's going to run wide.
Oh my word!
Oh, he's lucky boy. He is the lucky boy. Yeah. Oh no, there was slight contact with the barrier. So that was one of David Beasley's. Then he's had this one as well. Oh no, that was part of the same one. It's the next one I want for David Beasley. So he should be currently he's...
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's not ideal. So, for David Beasley at the moment, he's sat on 2, Glover's on 1, and Mike Busson's obviously taken 1 as well. So, yeah, that's how we can tell for their off-track situation.
Yep. So, at the moment, Simon Edwards and James Barry both getting the bonus points, which in turn means that it's not really worth mentioning at all, is it, at that point? Because if they both got them, then they might as well neither have them. But anyway, that's besides the point. Down the Dottinger Hill they go then, at the end of the opening lap. Just a 7-lap race here tonight, by the way. Should be around 45 minutes, no sprint and feature format racing. It's just one long event, and I'm not sure whether James Barry is struggling to get on terms with Simon Edwards because the straight line speed of the 6-time champion is too quick, or whether James Barry is just electing not to get alongside Simon Edwards into the Tiergarten for the first time.
I would be very surprised, but you know the weirdest thing is he didn't look like he was getting closer under his own draft merit. So I'm worrying whether or not he hasn't got the pace, or Edwards has got a miracle 0 wing, which I'd be quite surprised about here, but it didn't look like Barry got there. What we'll do is when they go down the Dottingham next time, we will keep an eye on their speeds just to track who's doing what in that draft area. I can tell you now, Mike Busson has moved himself up too. He's chasing down Seth Brown currently as well. They're going to break at the end of the graffiti on the floor, down into 3rd gear, the right-hander, and then they're going to run it all the way into 4th, down into 3rd again, turn left now, get an early one. Seth Brown got a bit of a slide on, nearly got away with it, just about manages to hold on. He's now set the tyres alight, unfortunately, so that SR10 is going to be warm, and this is what they don't want, and I can say this safely. Busson does not want to be on that outside if they reach the right-hander here either. No, he had to there, Ewan. That was going to end in disaster.
Well, it very nearly did anyway, as he tried to go around the outside. He could have done the brave move, but it could have ended up with him in the wall. It wasn't a given, but there is a high degree of risk
yes.
that comes with that. So there you go. Mike Bisson looks back down the inside again at Arenberg, and he can't work his way through for the moment. I think we're seeing a little bit at the moment just about how important qualifying is round here, because there are plenty of overtaking opportunities. It's not a terrible circuit for overtaking at all, but it does make your life a lot more difficult, and you can lose a lot of time as well in making these overtakes. As you can see, there's 2.5 seconds up to Robert Woodward now, for example. So Mike Booston's just losing more and more time as they go with this, and demonstrating really why qualifying at least at all would have been a better idea.
Yeah, I think he might have wanted to get something on the board, you know what I mean? And he just unfortunately didn't. It's it's one of them things. But he might be able to move up through the field now, unless he was putting his eggs in the basket or starting at the back and hoping people crashed out. Which, to be fair, if you're in official and there's 24 drivers on track, I would probably guarantee that would happen. But I think at the moment, Mike's just got to work out how he's going to get past Seth Brown. Don't get me wrong. Brown was looking a little bit raggedy earlier on in the lap coming through that early section, so we'll see how they get on. But you can see Buson's already got scrapes down the left hand side of that radical there as well. So Buson's radical looking a little bit scraggly with that right hand side scraped up.
Yep, it certainly is. So we run out of Exmuller now through the uphill right hander and now towards Bergwerk. Is a very important corner indeed to get yourself on the run towards Kesselchen, then more importantly the Muckkurve, which is at the end of the straight. Want to see really whether Barry's getting any closer here or whether he is still struggling. He just, I think he's hovering about here and just waiting, to be honest with you. It's hard to tell, isn't it, really? Come listen in.
It's on 155 miles an hour. That's topped. Simon Edwards is on about 150. You would have thought Barry would be able to get a little bit closer, but we don't know what the problem is we never know what setup Simon Edwards got, don't we? And that's the thing. We'll see when they get onto the dotting hole. However, Simon Edwards did go in a little bit deep on that one compared to where he probably would have liked on that run up into the carousel. So we're going to find out when they get out and when they get onto that back dotting hole. We'll keep an eye on their speed just to see if he is lifted a little bit. Unfortunately, I can't get driver inputs from the drivers to the app to be able to tell me what he's doing, whether or not he's lifting, but we'll just have to play it by ear on the speed on the right hand side, what he's actually doing. But yeah, very, very close here. And also Buson, well, gee whiz, he actually was very close to Seth Brown then.
Yep, he certainly was. But this is the problem again. He is quicker. I truly believe that. But it's so difficult to find a way through. And never mind the race leaders, who at the moment must be becoming an afterthought for Mike Buson at the moment. But even third place is becoming a little bit of a stretch now. There's plenty of time left in this race, so I do believe he can still get there. But Robert Woodward now has 3 seconds over this battle. The longer Mike leaves this, the bigger the gap's going to be and the less chances he's going to have to get on the podium.
Yeah, he's got to wait. He's got to wait now until he gets onto the dotting hole, and he's got to make sure that he is close enough. I think the thing is, I found that, you know, there is a big enough draft, and there is a lot of draft on that dotting hole straight, and he's just got to make sure he can stay within contact through this next set of run here as well, because he's got a very difficult jump coming up. He's got to make sure what he's going to do. He stays in that fourth, comes down, actually does come down into fourth, which was a good idea. Keeps the revs up. Now it's just fall flat all the way. Go to the left hand side because the curb will kick you, the bump kicks you out like it did with Brown if you're anywhere bar that left hand corner of that part of the racetrack. Now he's going to get the run as well. Don't make it early. Don't make it early. Sit there, wait, go round the right hander, down into fourth gear for the left hander. Maybe get it down. Nope, he stayed in fourth, coming into the mini carousel, the left hander into third, and this is where he's got to get the run. He's got to get on that power early. Brown nearly popped out of the mini carousel. Wouldn't have been a good idea for him, so he's just got to now lift it a little bit, get it round the corner. Now we're on the throttle full pelt. This is where it's going to matter, and this is where we can see Barry on a 168, Edwards on a 166. He's got to be lifting. He can't not be.
He is. And he's saving the fuel as well. There should be a pit stop here today, so we'll see how that plays in as Mike Buson gets through, but he's probably gone through too early here because Brown can get straight back in the slipstream and come straight back at him. Look at this as they go over the top of the hill, and we look through the, well, what I'd call a window normally, but I don't even know what that is. A gap?
Yeah, it's off the roll.
He ducks back into slipstream again. Can he get alongside for the Tiergarten again here, Buson? He can! No, he backs out again. So he should have just waited a bit later, and then he would have been able to poke out. A bit deep on the brakes there from Brown, and again Mike Buson is stuck in behind. He gets very close to the wall. Can he have a dive at the first corner? I don't think he's close enough, and it's going to be another lap of frustration, very possibly, for Mike Bousson.
Yeah, he jumped out too early. He got so close coming out through the Klein Carousel up into Galgenkopf, and he was just too close. He needed to try and back out a little bit, and then he just popped out too early. He came out well too early before the Bilson Bridge, and unfortunately that's where it cost him. Phil Jocelyn and Phil Glover are having a nice little ding-dong further down. David Beasley is a little bit further back, but we've got Barry, and again with Edwards. If Barry's just going to keep lifting and lifting and lifting and maybe trying to save fuel, whether or not he can save a lap, I don't really believe that's possible, because he'll have to go around. If he don't go in when Edwards goes in, he'll have to go around the whole again, and I'm going to be a little bit worried if he's going to be able to get round. I don't believe he could probably save a lap of fuel. I think that's going to be too hard.
No, he's not going to be able to save a whole lap,
No.
I wouldn't have thought, but I don't know how close they are to getting another lap at the start, if you see what I mean. Mike Bousson looks like he's through now, though. He's finally worked his way through down into Arenberg. It was a good run through Flugplatz. Instead of going alongside at the fast right-hander at the top of the hill, he went for the run afterwards, down the hill, through into Schwedenkreuz here at the left-hander. It's around the outside. It's no less impressive, really. And he does finally get through into fourth.
Yeah, great job from him there as well. So Mike now move up. The question is he going to be able to hold on enough? Where can he get? Sorry, that's not what I want to say. He needs to be able to get away from Seth Brown enough for the rest of the lap before they get onto the dot and ho. Otherwise, Brown's just going to be straight back through again. He needs to get a second and a half away, if he can, from Seth towards Robert Woodward, and try and get Woodward to help him. You can see he's faster through that section, drops down the right hander now, down through the gear we go. But yeah, for Bousson, this is now go flat. Get away from him as best as you can. Otherwise, what you've done is irrelevant going onto the dot and ho, because he'll just come straight back through again.
I think Bousson will be able to hold on here now, but he does have to be wary of losing the place all over again. Phil Glover's back up to 6th place, by the way, after nearly spinning on the opening lap. He's passed Phil Jocelyn. That might be the limit, unfortunately, for Phil after a really amazing qualifying session from him. It's a half an hour session, of course, that he was able to put to good use for 3rd place. Not sure why Justin was so slow on the straight. Maybe it was just the combined slipstream of Glover there. But there seemed like a very big difference between the cars on the straight there for whatever reason. And Justin's out now. He's crashed while we were on the replay, has he? Or has he just dropped out for other reasons? I'm not entirely sure, as we watch James Barry pretend to not be quick enough to overtake.
He just jumped back to the pits. So I can't really answer that. I'll have a look at his jump back to the pits in a minute and see. To be honest, I don't think Barry's going to make a move. Like, I realistically feel he's going to try and wait till that final lap. And it's so. What I would want to do if I was James Barry is I would test whether or not I could get past Edwards on the straightaway. Because if Edwards has got literally a piece of paper across that back wing, and I say the fact that his wing is obviously exceptionally skinny at times, I would have presumed he would have had something on this one going round Nords, because it is tricky. But for me, I would test whether or not I could get past Edwards, and then if I can get past him, there's plenty of opportunities to be slow on purpose as such to allow Edwards to get back through. But I would want to test it first. I would want to make sure I can actually clear Simon Edwards here.
It's a difficult predicament to find yourself in. I've got a feeling at the moment that these two are going to be locked together until the final lap, actually, based on what we're seeing at the moment. But let's just wait and see on that front. Meanwhile, Justin did crash. This is Verstappen, I think.
Yeah,
just before Exmuller.
I'm going to go back this way. I know it's not ideal, but oh yes, he hit the curb.
He's gone in with too much speed. He's on the curb and he's in the wall. So it's one of those things, isn't it? When you're following another car, all of a sudden everything feels a bit different, and he didn't get on the brakes nearly early enough there. Phil Justin, and it went straight into the wall at Versyphon.
Yeah, he did, and it's tough because I've done that this week myself, where I didn't brake hard enough to get down through the gears. I will say one thing as well: if you're a bit of a nostalgia individual, Ringmeister this week is at Nords in the SR8, and yeah, go and have a go with that, because I tell you what, I had a blast in the SR8 round here. It was absolutely amazing, so I loved it. Go and have a try with that. Paul LeMay, physical limitations, unfortunately. Is that still to do with your shoulder, or is that your carpal? Is it carpal tunnel? I think. Let us know on that one, Paul, because I can't remember which one it was, whether or not you've done your shoulder or your wrist on that. So to be fair, if that is the situation, then yeah, fair play. I wouldn't want to be doing Nords with a dodgy wrist at all, to be honest, because it will hurt your hand off.
Well, we're hoping to see Phil back. Hoping to see Paul back as soon as possible, and yeah, hopefully you can get well soon, Paul, and we can see you back on the circuit when it is sensible to do so, indeed. Meanwhile, James Barry closes back into Simon Edwards. He is, or was, a little bit further behind going onto the straight that time, but he was still in the slipstream, and so could gain enough. Now, if he was actually actively trying to make a move, he might have run out of straight to do it there, but luckily for him, he wasn't. Down at the end of lap 3 now. This is one of the 2 laps, I think, where we're going to see a pit stop. We've certainly got the pit window open, but these two very much want to stay together to control the variables, and so they will go around for one more. You'd imagine, based on what we were told previous to this race, that there will be a stop from them on the next lap in that case.
Yeah, I am on the understanding that there will be a pit stop. I don't think they can go any more than 4 laps. I think even with the official fuel load, you just make it. And that's with your spotter going as you're going on to the last lap, telling you, saying you need to pit. So it does get very close if they're running the official fuel load. But then again, it is open, so technically they can go with whatever they like. Carpal tunnel, yes, I knew it. I knew it was one of them there as well. So I'm going to take that as a win, Paul, if that's all right. And there we go. And carpal tunnel was absolutely horrible. I can tell you that much. My sister had that, mate, and my parents had to go round there and babysit for a week because she couldn't literally do anything. So there we go.
Well, yeah, as you say, hopefully you can get Paul well soon. Indeed. David Beasley in the pit lane right now, by the way. It doesn't seem like Phil Justin's going to come back into the race, unfortunately, but yeah, he is in. Is David? It feels like a long stop, that. Maybe it's not. But I was expecting them only to be in for a bit of fuel. Indeed, he's not even in that car, is he? Is he?
He is, but he's up on the jacks at the moment.
Can't see him.
So unless he's got damage, no, there is a man in there. I promise you, there is a man. There we go. He's there.
Oh, okay.
So unless he's got damage, I'm thinking that's what he might be trying to get repaired there. So I think he might have damage on that one. So there we go. But
or forgetting to uncheck the tyres is a common problem as well.
Yeah, I don't know if he'd worry too much about taking tyres, because to be honest, at Nords it's not a bad thing if you're in David Beasley's position. I'm wondering whether or not he's now got a penalty, because he's now been in there for 1 minute and 11, and say, unless he's getting damage repaired, that is quite a long time. But yeah, Buson's slowly closing in on Woodward. It's down to 2.8. It was out at 5, I believe, when Buson made that pass, past Robert Seth Brown. So yeah, Buson's closing in on him here as well. So a great run from Mike Buson, slowly making his move into Robert Woodward. I believe he will get there if over the next lap or so. Brown is still within contact, but the closest battle is Barry and Edwards.
Certainly is. It's the important battle for the championship as well. If they finish this way round, then they will indeed both go into this final race. The final race is with something to play for, although Simon Edwards would need to win both races to stand a chance. The most that Simon Edwards can gain today, by the way, is 20 points. That will bring it down to just 10 and give us a very interesting finale. That would require James Barry, though, to finish outside of the podium places, which at the moment doesn't look like it's happening, and Simon Edwards to take maximum points, which is 68. I believe he's still on 0x. I don't think we've seen him off the road just yet, and same for James Barry. So at the moment, they will be getting their 3 bonus points for that too.
Unfortunately, I'm showing as Edwards having an off track.
Okay.
In fact, I'm showing two.
Oh, couple. Okay.
So.
That's interesting.
But take that.
If they finish as they are, then that would be only 5 points gained by Simon Edwards. He'd be 25 behind with only 23 available to gain. So as of right now, he not only needs to win, he needs James Barry to go off the road.
Yeah, but take that off track count as quite a big pinch of salt. So let's see. There, I think you're better off just talking to Simon and finding out for 100% whether or not that is the case. Beasley, now we've lost David Beasley, so we're down to 6, unfortunately, there for David. We've lost David Beasley and Phil Jocelyn, so we'll see how they get on. Fastest lap at the moment, 6:21.783 to James Barry. He is, that's 1.5 seconds quicker than Edwards. That's massive.
Yeah, but Edwards' best laps came with those off tracks, I think. So that's why his best lap looks a lot worse than Barry's. I don't think the gap's actually that big. I remember seeing a 21 pop up from him. It wasn't as quick as Barry's, but it was a 21. I think he did a 21.8.
Yeah, 21.81.
Yeah, but he must have got off the road because it doesn't count as a best lap. If you get an off track for whatever reason, or indeed any kind of incident point, even a 0x if you're brushing the wall on a street circuit, it doesn't allow for that either. It does tell me though that Simon Edwards is a bit quicker than James Barry. The gap goes out to 0.7 of a second, and as things stand right now, he's still in the slipstream, Barry, but he's close to losing it.
Yeah, he can go. He can afford to get to about 0.8 because it does pull in quite quick from there. So it might not be as close by the time he gets down to the end of the dotting a hoe. He might be 4.5 back, but he will get something. But if he's going to be 6, he should be about 2.5 by the time he gets down to the end of the dotting hoe. But we are expecting both of these to go into the pits, I would have thought, this lap around.
Yep, it's 0.8 as they go through Gavencott, but as they get onto the Dottingham now, we are going to see the gap come down. Edwards weaves around to break the slipstream as best as he can, but he knows that Barry, or he should know, that Barry's going to have a shorter pit stop anyway here. So some of that gap could come back again here. Barry not anywhere near close enough to go for an overtake, which he might have wanted to do actually, considering they're both on the way into pit lane, but he doesn't have a choice now. He's going to be staying behind as they go into the Tiergarten here for the 4th time of asking. 3 laps to go. It should be time for pit stops at the front of the race. Barry just backs off and they both they both carry on.
Wow.
Okay. Oh, well, they both got a purple lap. That can't possibly be true.
Yeah, 6:20.038, 6:20.037. So it can be because it thought Edwards was faster first and then Barry popped straight up behind it. So at the time it didn't have time to change. I thought there was pit stops.
Yeah, well, Woodward's in, so they must be. But they must be able to do 5 laps.
Seth Brown's in as well.
Yep. That Pearson carries on. We'll see if Phil Glover does as well. But see what the sort of... This is a good idea actually for us to get a bit of a benchmark as to how long the stops are going to be, as Glover's very gingerly making his way in here. Quite a slow pit entry, to be fair. Very narrow.
Yeah, that's not confident in going into the pit lane from Phil Glover there. That was just let me get into the pit lane here before he causes himself any drama. That's unfortunately what that was from Phil. So yeah, that wasn't confident. That was just I just want to get in and get out.
So Robert Woodward had a shorter stop there, I would argue. Seth Brown, I think Seth Brown went up on the tyres, didn't he? But Robert Woodward, I think, has given us a good benchmark as to just how long we're expecting these pit stops to be from the front two.
Yeah, Phil Glover was in for a couple of seconds after that as well. 6.68 for Woodward, 9.48 for Glover. But however, Woodward's pit lane time is a little bit wrong. It says he was only in the pit lane for 3.6 seconds. So, yeah, I'm not quite sure how that one works out. I know Nords plays funky with timing. So, yeah, just take it as a slight little pinch of salt at the moment until we give it a minute to settle down. But these guys once again up the run through Platts coming down into Arenberg, so we'll keep an eye on these guys and see how they get on.
Certainly will. The right-hander of Callanhard they go. Chicane up next, and then miss hit miss. It's a little bit easier in these cars than it would have been at the Nurburgring 24. I know quite a lot of these drivers do enjoy doing these long endurance races together. I wonder if Simon Edwards got the practice for this race last weekend by doing the Nurburgring 24 hours. He didn't mention it to us last week.
No. He's normally there, isn't he? Normally has got a team together, so maybe he was. I don't know. I know John was doing one, and I'm aware of a couple of others that were doing it, but I don't know if Edwards was. Maybe he just decided not this year. I don't know.
Don't know. But there you go.
However, it is the Coca-Cola 600 this week if you're interested in doing NASCAR, just to let you know.
Yeah, absolutely. 400 laps at Charlotte. Very long night indeed.
Oh, well,
we've got 4 hours or so.
Mine's booked. I'm doing mine Saturday morning, 11 o'clock Saturday morning. I did want to do the Open, but there it's crazy times for us in the UK. So yeah, the fixed setup on a Saturday morning is what I'll be looking at running.
You might be done by tea time.
I don't expect it to be a short one, mate. I've got to be honest. It's going to be very, very interesting. If I make it 15 laps without any problems, I'd be happy.
Yeah, it's going to be a very long race indeed. But generally, you do actually get some Green Flag runs in that race. To be fair, you do actually get things to settle down a little bit. Actually, in that race, surprisingly so. Even if it may be a bit chaotic for the first 100 laps, especially, but it should settle in eventually. Meanwhile, James Barry gets closer again to Simon Edwards. Now, Edwards has been quick through this final part of the lap again and again and again. Now, can he use it one more time to try and get away and break the slipstream from James Barry for good?
Well, we're going to find out here, but it looks like Barry's tucked up as close as possible, but it is through the next few couple of corners through Ash Black and down into the Brunchen beforehand. He seems to lose a little bit of time, does James Barry. He's already back out to 4 attempts here. It was 2.5 going in, and then we're coming down the left-hander now, down to the right-hander, and he seems to be okay, but it will be over the next run out of S-Curve to see how that he really can, whether or not he can really stay with him.
Yep, certainly. Through the left-hander, after Brunchen they go. Now down the hill and through this jump into Flansgarten. Though they barely get any air, these cars, to be fair. They're so well equipped downforce-wise. Now through the high-speed section, this is where Edwards really gets away, but even through the Stefan Belafest here, it's such a flat-out section in these cars that even at this point, Barry's going to get a whiff of slipstream, and so he'll be close enough by the straight, and now I think this pit entry between the two of them is going to be very interesting.
It's got to go. I would want that pit entry. I really would. If I was Barry, this would be where I'd make this move. If I could get out of this next section, down onto through Galgenkopf and down onto the Dotting O, I would want this pit entry if nothing else here. So now we're going to see Simon Edwards is going to weave like an absolute trooper because he knows Barry can close in at this moment in time, but again Barry's just not getting close enough, and I think that probably the weaving is probably helping Simon Edwards considerably here.
Well, yeah, I don't think Barry would have got there anyway, to be honest. He didn't have a very good final couple of corners there. Even if he did stay closer through the first part of that final sector, he wasn't really close enough at the end of it, and now he's only just there in time. He's not going to get ahead before the pit entry. Are they going to go round one more, or are we going to see pit lane for these two? We see pit lane for one, and James Barry carries on. So 5 laps complete for Edwards. He comes in. James Barry will be out on his own now to try and do the overcut.
Andy set a personal best on lap, a 6:19.82, the fastest lap of the race. How has he remotely got enough fuel?
Well, they're certainly running longer than they did in previous years. I only remember them doing about 4 laps in previous years. Because Edwards came in at lap 5, by the way, I don't think Barry's going to be making it to the end without stopping at all. I think he's going to have to stop, but His pit stop may well be shorter, and he's certainly got less fuel on board at this very moment than Simon Edwards does, which means he should be able to pull out a bit of a margin.
Yeah, again, it depends on what we're looking at setup-wise from Edwards, because obviously he's been very quick in general. But Barry, keeping an eye, it's teetering on that 14.28, but now, it's going up and down. I mean, I'm a little bit worried that obviously here as well, pit lane time of Simon Edwards was 19 seconds. So this could be very, very close from James Barry. We'll see if we can get... Yeah, see, even the timing software's got him behind Simon Edwards. So, projected pit lane, projected time on you're taking the average, he's putting him as 5 seconds behind Simon Edwards here. But that is obviously based off Edwards' pit box time. So it is taking a little bit of an average more than anything else.
Did Edwards even stop in his box there when he did?
Yeah,
when he did
for
the stop?
5.5 seconds.
Okay. It was just a short stop. I thought, has he even stopped at all? But okay, he has done. So it's going to be about waiting for the moment for us as we work through the end of the first sector here, very much into the middle part of the Nordschleife now for James Barry. And a quarter of a minute ahead of Simon Edwards. This is going to be such an important in-lap. If James Barry can win this race ahead of Simon Edwards, it doesn't matter about the bonus points for no off-tracks or whatever you want to call it. It is going to be James Barry champion if they finish as they are right now, even with those 2 races remaining next week.
Yeah, nobody in the league will begrudge James Barry to winning the championship. He has done so well this season, and he was so close last season. He come into it 2 seasons ago, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. He had that first introductory season where we said he was going to be quick if he could be on there and be consistent, and he got that last season as well, was a little bit more consistent last season, and then this season he's really stepped up his game, and again, I don't think anybody would begrudge him if he does take it here. This is a vitally important lap. He has to nail this lap, every single corner. It's got to be almost, as they say, the perfect lap. Everything's got to go right for James Barry, because this could be a projected very close out when he comes out of the pits, how close Edwards is going to be.
Whereas the gap seems to be staying very similar compared to what it was before. Wasn't it 14.2 when Edwards came out? I mean, it's
14.28, I believe.
So, I mean, it's barely come down from that. It's 13.8 now. So maybe Edwards has been gaining a little bit. But if Barry doesn't go and get an off track in this race, and Simon Edwards does, and even second place is enough for Barry to clinch the title. We believe he's still clean as far as off tracks go. Simon Edwards is not, as a result of the earlier point in this race, but James Barry is really pushing now. He's got to be careful to not go off the circuit so he can get those free bonus points.
Yeah, I think it's all about his entry. We saw the entry with Phil Glover, right? It was very slow and not confident, and I would have hoped that Barry might have been practicing that entry as best as he can. It's not always easy. You got to reset the car and you got to run again, and then get to you can reset back a little bit, but he's got to make sure that he nails that entry. We're back out to 14.3836. It's teetering around that, so it's going to be how his entry is. He's got to nail it. That's all I can richly say. He has to nail that entry.
And it's such a difficult pit entry to get on as well, not least because it interrupts your flow so much on the Nordschleife compared to what is such a nice circuit to drive when you're in the groove in one of these cars. You're just flowing the car left and right. It's such an interruption of that when you pull a hard right straight into the pit lane. Not only that, you've got to slot your car through what is realistically a very narrow gap and then get yourself slowed down to pit speed in time so that you don't get a speeding penalty as well. It is a very tricky pit entry to get onto, and the only pit entry they've had to do all season long, because the pit stops are not a thing at the moment in the Radical Race Series.
No, not yet. I don't know what if there's changes looking at coming forward. I can't answer the question, and we're just waiting for final confirmation. Obviously, we will be back next season, so we'll find out more as it goes on what's going to change, whether or not anything's going to change, the format's going to change or whatever. To be honest, I hope they don't change the format, because I think the format's been working, that sprint and feature, better than the sprint and endurance. As you said, effectively with the endurance races, they just become drop rounds, and it was a little bit so let's see how he gets on. I'm going to jump on the roll bar. I want to see how he nails his pit entry.
Yep, this is be so crucial for James Barry as he tries to clinch the title of the race early. He went a bit wide there into Tiergott, and it didn't give him the best entry onto the actual pit lane. There's the line. You can go flying on in, and now he's on the pit lane. White flag is in the air, by the way. There's just one more time around. He gets himself into the box. Shouldn't be any tyre changes here. Should just be a blast of fuel and go for James Barry. Is he on his way to a title here as he exits the pit lane? It's going to be so close on himself and Simon Edwards, and James Barry gets in front by some margin, just over a second, as he goes for his first title. If he hangs on to that margin, he will be the champion.
Oh, Barry, we said it was important, and it was. The problem is the dotting the hoe going on the final lap. If Edwards gets within about 8 tenths, he's going to grab the draft, so it's going to be very close. What's going on with Busson's still stationary? Woodward's coming round. I think Busson's going to... Oh, dearie me. I think Busson could lose that. He has lost a place.
Well, he wasn't ahead before, was he?
Yeah.
Before the stop started, he wasn't ahead, was he?
Yes.
No, he wasn't.
Woodward went... Yeah, but Busson had that third place, didn't he? Because he went round again when Woodward went... Oh, dearie me. When Woodward went in...
Yeah, he went round for another couple of laps, but he was never ahead in legitimate turns.
Well, he was ahead when he went in the pit lane. Come on, give him a little bit, a little bit of credit.
I don't know. I don't think. Well, he's closed clearly because it's 2.2 seconds now for Mike Busson, but he's going to struggle to close that margin now, I would have thought.
Oh, I don't know.
Final lap.
I don't know. We'll keep an eye on it. Keep an eye. He had pulled out quite a lot out of Robert Woodward, mind you.
I'm going to place my bets on it not happening, but it might well do. Let's see.
All right.
1.2 seconds still the gap. Edwards has to get... It's not necessarily a bad thing for him to be over a second back right now, or it's not the most important thing in the world, let's say. But the real important thing is later in the lap. By the time they get onto the back straight for the final time, he has to be within at about 6 tenths of a second or closer if he wants to make the move into the final corners of the race.
Yeah, the thing is, if Barry's going to do what Edwards did and weave left to right, he needs to be 6 tenths. Easily. 6 tenths, half a second at the most. Otherwise, he won't get there at all. So we'll see what goes on. It depends on how close he can get. Don't forget as well that final run down onto the dotting the hoe, Edwards is quicker by about 3 tenths. So yeah, it's going to be touch and go. I feel it's going to be touch and go.
Be very close indeed, and Edwards absolutely needs this if he wants to go through. Still don't believe James Barry's got a off track yet, which looks
no, he's not showing us any.
Okay.
I will say one thing as well regarding Mike Busson and Robert Woodward. Mike's now only a second back, so as much as you said he wouldn't, I feel he might.
He is really closing in now. I wasn't expecting that to happen, to be honest with you. And there is the gap, back to a second after a mistake, but that will ebb and flow. 8 tenths of a second. Edwards is very much in the slipstream now after Bergberg through Kesterson, and now on the way towards the Curve. We are going to get a battle for the win in the end here. Whether it will matter or not is another question to find out after the race when we ask them whether they've had any incident points or not. But anyway, Barry is leading. If he can stay there, he'll be champion regardless with still 2 rounds to go. Even if Edwards does keep it alive here today, it's a tall order for him to take his 7th title.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be good? Wouldn't it be good, that final race of the final season coming down to this? Do you know what I mean? These are 2 mighty people having an absolute epic scrap. Come on, it's a little bit exciting.
Yeah, I'd enjoy it, but questioning whether it will happen at the moment, to be honest. Barry was... as Booson's gone off, I think. Just saw him showing us off track for a brief moment there. Oh, it's not the Rook curve, is it? It certainly is. Oh, my goodness, Mike Booson. That was a corner that I didn't actually think was much of a challenge in these cars, but Booson there found the wall.
Oh, yeah, he's also found 2 seconds as well. I think that is it now. I don't think Mike will get there after that.
Did I just see Barry off the road there? I thought I just saw the off-track pop up. But,
no.
No?
Yes, he's had one.
Wow. Okay, so that's 3 points taken away from him, and he absolutely has to win here then. It's a straight fight between them, and Edwards has just lost his way in these final couple of moments. He's normally very quick through these final faster sweeping corners, but I reckon he's not close enough at the moment to get the slipstream.
Nope. Oh, he's clearly made a mistake, and unfortunately, I think that's going to cost him. That could be it. That could be it.
Could be. Into the Kleiner carousel now. The gap comes down to 9 tenths. Edwards does gain. He's 8 tenths away. He will get slipstream. He needs a great run through Galbenkopf though. Barry turns in a bit early there. He doesn't get it very right at all. And it's a straight fight between the two of them. Oh, Barry's got it all wrong. He's slowing on the straight. Simon Edwards is coming straight back at him. They're weaving around at each other. And the 6-time champion is back through. Now has James Barry just let off the throttle there to let Edwards through so that he can get in the slipstream here and re-overtake Simon Edwards. This is for the title. James Barry looking to win his first ever. Simon Edwards trying to keep it alive for even longer. He weaves around in defence, but it means nothing as James Barry goes through on the outside line. Now they'll go into Tiergarten. There's still chance for Edwards to come back here into the final corners of the race. Edwards comes through. James Barry responds, and he's got the lead of the race. Just a couple of corners to go, and he'll be the champion of the season. Here we go for the final right-hander. Edwards throws everything at it. He nearly goes in a spin. James Barry is the Radical Race Series champion for the very first time in an epic final lap battle with Simon Edwards.
Oh, James, he played that, I can tell you that much. That was to me, to you situation there from Simon Edwards and James Barry. We see Barry just here lifting off, slowing up, letting him go through, and then said, well, thank you very much. I will now come back and get you there as well. He played it. I tell you what, though, that was a dangerous game to play, because that could have gone a little bit more wrong there. If he hadn't got him by the Bilston, I would have been really worried. But this is the run. Look at this.
Astonishing. Barry goes straight through, and Edwards still had a chance to come back, by the way, here down the hill. Got alongside, and then there is a bit of contact. I mean, Barry's right the way to the right-hand side there. I don't see much wrong with it, really. They both go deep into the braking zone. Edwards has a look up the inside. He slides his way in. Barry didn't have a very good run through the final corner either, but he doesn't need one particularly. That's where the finish line is. Ends up winning the race.
Yeah,
it was quite amazing.
Yeah, that was... he took a risk. Barry took a risk, but he did manage to make it work for himself there. So fair play. And the line is literally just coming off around the corner. So, yeah, fair play to them guys on that one.
Absolutely. James Barry wins by 6 tenths of a second, and he is the Radical Race Series champion for Season 2 of 2024. Simon Edwards finishes second ahead of Robert Woodward and Mike Booson, who probably needed another lap for their battle to transpire because Booson's mistake at the Muck Curve. Seth Brown got into 5th ahead of Phil Glover, who finished 6th. David Beasley and Phil Johnson didn't finish. So there is your only endurance race of the season, 7 laps around here at the Nordschleife. I've got to say it's been a brilliant return to the great circuit where we used to have our championship finales. Well, it's felt like a bit of a throwback today because we've seen the title decided at this venue once again, even despite it being the penultimate round. James Barry can now join us. Welcome in, James. Good to have you with us. I mean, how are you feeling after that last lap battle that not only was for a race win in this series to take yet another one on the season, but also for a title as well?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I'm conflicted now because Simon's already expressed that he's not very happy with me for what I did at the end there. I was just trying to win the race, and I knew that that was the only way I was going to win the race because he was much faster than me in a straight line, and he was within the slipstream distance. So I just did what I wanted to do to win.
What were the tactics like on that final lap there? Because what it looked like initially was that you had a really bad run through the final corner onto the straight, but actually in the end it looked like quite a calculated move to get yourself into the slipstream all over again so that you could pull back past. What were the tactics going on there at the final lap?
That's what it was. I lifted so that he either had to go. Well, he could have stayed behind me if he wanted to, but I wanted him to go past because I knew that if he stayed behind me, then he could get the draft on me at any point and win the race. So yeah, I deliberately lifted and let him go through if he wanted to.
How does it feel to have the title wrapped up with 1 round to go? You've got 38 points of a margin with the maximum 23 that you were able to lose at next time round. And by the way, if Edwards had beaten you there, it still would have been alive going into those final 2 races as well. How does it feel, though, to not have to worry about that at the final 2 races?
Yeah, it's a bit bittersweet now because that race was just a very weird feeling race in the end now that it's happened how it happened and low participation. So I really wanted to win this championship for a long time. So I'm happy that I've won, but at the same time, yeah, it feels a bit strange in the circumstances. But yeah, really what I wanted was to avoid having the stress of next week because I knew it was going to still be alive if Simon met me there. So. Yeah,
absolutely. But you managed to avoid that. Congratulations, James. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
I'll shout out Lucas Vieira, who gave me a setup if he's watching, and just shout out everyone in the league and you guys. I hope the race was interesting enough with the participation that we had.
It was actually.
I thought so.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And I just want to say one thing, James. You won.
Yeah.
It wasn't one race that you won the championship over. It's been the last 10, right? So despite everything and despite what's being said, son, go away, be proud of yourself. You've won the championship for the first time, all right? You've done it over 10 other rounds, not just this one. So well done, mate. Be proud of yourself. You've done it, and you worked hard for it this season, so you fully deserved.
Thanks. Well, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna try and do it all over again, and hopefully, we can have plenty more opportunities to have competition because it's always really good when we have it. So yeah. Thanks, guys.
Well done, bud. Be proud of yourself. You've done amazing.
Cheers. Thanks for all you do, guys. Thanks for the broadcasts. They're always really good to watch. So cheers.
Thanks very much. James Barry there, the champion of the series and the race winner tonight here at the Nordschleife as well. Speaking to us at the end of the race. Phil Glover is also waiting down there for us to have a chat. We can continue on the weeks-long tradition. Welcome in, Phil. Good to have you with us. Qualifying went very well for you here today, finishing up in 3rd place, but the start maybe wasn't what you were hoping for. What was going on in qualifying there for you to have such a good lap?
I don't know, really. I've swapped to a round wheel that I've been using for my rallying rather than using the traditional one that you get with a radical. And I think that's helped a little bit. I did no practice at all this week, so when you saw me jump into practice, that was all I had. So, yeah, did it all right. A bit frustrated because I just got on the power too early with cold tyres, didn't I? And then because I was 3rd on the grid and then got a reasonable start. Having said that, I think the quick guys would have got past me anyway. So, I managed to keep it 7 laps round here. Is quite. I'm still driving, by the way. I'm just running out of fuel. I've got 0.6 of a litre to add. I'm trying to see if I can get back. But anyway, took an early pit stop. I thought that might help a little bit. I was pretty much on my own though, wasn't I? I wasn't catching Seth, so it's quite hard work to keep the concentration along this track for that length of time.
Yeah, and it's a bit unusual as well to have just one race in an evening rather than the 2, which we've been used to having now. Are you pleased that the Nordschleife has come back at least for one season?
I like it.
we don't see it so often anymore because it used to be on all of the schedules. Everyone was like, well, we need to go somewhere else, I think. And now we finally have. But, once every few seasons, are you a fan of coming back here every now and again?
I'm just starting the straight with 0.2 of a litre left, so am I going to make it? I wonder.
I don't think you're going to make it.
I don't think so. I think it rewards those people that are a little bit safer drivers that perhaps quite on the ragged edge, which may be me, I guess. Having said that, I drove it like I stole it. Maybe I shouldn't say that, should I? Right up to the end. So I think my lap times were, I pushed even though nobody could overtake me because I was last on the road. But there you go. There weren't too many people out tonight, were there? Which is a bit of a shame.
No, and maybe that's a bit down to the Nordschleife, but then again, Sebring didn't have very many last week either. So don't really know. Hopefully, by the time we get to next season, maybe even next week, we can have a few more on the circuit. I know there's a lot of people away at the moment, a lot of people doing other things, etc. I suppose this thing happens now. We're getting to summer and so on.
Yeah.
But
I might have a bit of an apology to make because obviously I joined from my my hotel room after being on the whiskey, so hopefully I wasn't too bad.
Entertaining.
Somebody's got to do it, haven't they?
Oh, well, you're more than welcome to come in, Phil. It was great chatting to you anyway, even if you were about 5 sheets to the wind.
And can you get the recovery truck out? Because I've run out of fuel halfway down.
Yeah, I've just seen you.
Yeah, we can. We've got that's a live picture, by the way, for those watching.
And by the way, guys, don't forget, I dial in every week, so you can always chat to me. I guess it was obviously interesting tonight, but
if ever there was a night, we probably should have done tonight, shouldn't we? Really?
Yeah, but knowing our luck, he would have got down the dot and ho, and then we would have caught him trying to go into the 154 corners that he would have had to deal with, and it could have just all gone a little bit wrong, isn't it? Erring on the side of caution, Phil.
I'm not bothered about that. I'm not bothered about that. If I can't manage to do 2 things at once, as my wife says, then I don't deserve to be driving, do I?
Phil, you're driving VR at a motion simulator with us commentating in your ear while you're talking to us, giving an interview, driving a Nurburgring. Mate, that's like 5 things that's impossible for some men. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm going to have to get out and walk. You're taking far too long.
It's a 9-minute tow, Phil. You're going to have to wait.
And I was driving in my slippers tonight, so it's going to be a hell of a walk back.
Oh God. Enjoy that walk. We'll hopefully you're back in time for the next week. It might take a while.
Where is it next week?
We're at Road America next week.
That's my track, isn't it?
Come on, Phil.
Didn't you get a top 10 there last season?
Yes.
This is going mental.
I didn't think the position mattered really, did it, to be honest?
Hey, you were just in the top 10, Phil. I got excited regardless.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll try not to disappoint, but you never know.
We'll see. We'll see indeed. Is there anyone I'd like to give a shout out to, Phil, before I let you go?
Yeah, BP for not putting enough fuel in me.
You decided how much fuel to put in.
Look, I hate people that are stickler for detail.
Oh dear. Well, that's a problem. Anyway, we'll let you go, Phil. Thanks for coming to have a chat with us again tonight, and we look forward to seeing you again next week at Road America.
You will indeed.
Take care, bud.
Thanks very much.
Cheers, bye.
Phil Glover there, chat to us at the end. 7 laps of racing at the Nurburgring. Well, that's just about it for us here tonight. A successful return. I really don't mind coming here every few seasons or so, and it's felt like a throwback, as I say, because we've decided our champion again, James Barry, this time for the first time, to add his list, and it's becoming a very long list. Paul Crabb, who's won twice, John McCutcheon, who's won 3 times, Sam Webster has won a title, Simon Edwards has got 6, Luke Maxwell has got a couple, and now James Barry has got 1 as well. I don't know how many that is. 6, is it? 7? I lost count on my fingers.
What?
He's a new champion, though, is the point of it, and he's done it with 1 round to go. And I'm sure he'll be pleased to have achieved that, even though, as you say, strange circumstances, admittedly, but deserves the championship very much so, and has had a very consistent season. Aside from his drop weeks, he's been above 50 points every week, and that has been something that not even Simon Edwards has been able to live with.
Yeah. He's done a stellar job. Like I said to him, the season isn't won over one race, right? He's won over the other 10 rounds previous to that. So he done an almighty job, and he deserves it. We knew he was going to be there or thereabouts after last season as well. So, absolutely stellar job from him, and that's it. As far as I'm concerned, he won it over the season, didn't just win it here tonight, and it was a great job. So, well done.
Yep, well done indeed to James Barry. Hopefully he'll be back again next week for his lap of honour, if you like, or multiple laps of honour at Road America. And hopefully you can join us too. Thanks so much to everyone who's been tuned in with us across the evening. Subscribe to the JPB channel if you haven't already. We're quite close to 2K now, so that'd be nice. But it is the end of another week, the Radical Race Series. We'll be back again, same time, same place, of course. With myself, Ewan Leary, James Parfitt. And until we catch you over at Road America for the final round of the season, it's goodbye for now.